Well, it's also funny because like they're crying about it, but they're crying about it in a way that doesn't really make sense because he chose not to prosecute him. If we're talking this guy's a partisan hack, he's prosecuting Joe Biden. He's got him. Do you think that it is better to just say he's too old to prosecute and leave it? Or do you think it's better to hold him up in court? There were some interesting moments in the sea of senility, of course. Obviously, like I said, I think he did better. I think Brandon performed better than you would expect. That doesn't mean that he did phenomenally well. I gave it a what? What did I give it last night? Like a 6.5 or a 7.5 out of 10. Because I thought that like him neutralizing the he forgot his son's death moment, him successfully neutralizing the you forgot your son's death moment was pretty solid, right? Then it's like, whoa, how dare you? I didn't forget my son's death. That's really fucked up. I'm choking up even when I think about it. And then beyond that, I mean, he forgot the church where he got the rosary from. Fine, whatever. People are not really talking about that. But then also him yelling, I think, about how he's not old. Like, that's still dynamic. It still kind of shows there's a little bit of life in him. I wish he would yell about other shit, right? But then he boofed it with the whole Mexico flub, and now everyone's talking about it. Of course they're going to talk about it. He has a gaffe every single time. Do you think this tips the election odds at all? Guys, it's not a one-stop situation. What are we talking about? No, this is not going to tip the election. This is just yet another sea of L's that will hurt his re-election campaign, though.
About Democrats' reaction to Joe Biden.
Anyway, Claire McCaskill saying what the special counsel did was clearly political. Look, the Justice Department has a lot of guys like her, okay? The dude who wrote, the special prosecutor that was appointed by Merrick Garland, okay? These guys are very similar. I would say like her is, he's very similar to not Jim Comey, the other guy. What was his name? Who's like obviously right wing, that everyone wanted to fuck. Robert, whatever the other guy, Mueller, Robert Mueller. I can't believe I forgot his name. So there are a lot of dudes that have worked in the FBI, worked in these kinds of specific prosecutions that are definitely right wing, but also love the law. You know what I mean? Who wanted to fuck Mueller? Are you kidding me? So many goddamn libtards had lost their minds and they were like, oh, I want to fucking clap his cheeks. I want to get my cheeks clapped by him. So there are a lot of dudes no, Jim Comey too. Jim Comey and Robert Mueller are like, in that same vein, who are definitely right-wing, openly so, but while they're definitely right-wing, they also care about the law a lot. Like they're institutionalists, right? And I think Hur is exactly that same kind of dude. He's right-wing, but he got appointed for this matter because Merrick Garland thought he would do an honest job so that you could just like destroy any kind of doubt that this is a one-sided affair or that this is like in any way, shape, or form going to be perceived as biased. So I don't believe that like his like the way he wrote that report was over the top or in any way, shape, or form like openly too anti-Biden or anything like that. Okay. But that's what the MSNBC line is.
Biden and the special counsel report yesterday and the press conference last night. What is the impact of yesterday on the Biden presidency?
Well, I think what I'm hearing is there is an acknowledgement that this special counsel went outside the lines. There was no need for him to bring in some of the things he put in the report. Frankly, trying to say that the reason a jury wouldn't convict him is because he's elderly and didn't mean to do it or whatever is silly. A jury wouldn't convict him because he cooperated and immediately wanted to give over the documents, wanted to, give them everything and never tried to mislead them, never tried to hide the documents, never did the stuff that the guy with the orange face down at the golf club did with the.
Oh, God, Claire McCaskill, I hate her so much. I think he definitely knew what he was doing, saying he's too senile to prosecute. That gets them so much more traction than trying to press charges. I mean, I don't think he was like actively trying to undermine Joe Biden's re-election campaign, if that's what you're implying here. Like, I do legitimately think it's an honest assessment that he made. It's a Merrick Garland appointee, guys. You could maybe say that he wanted to not look even remotely partisan, okay? And that's why he went extra hard. But you can't say that he was like, deliberately trying to fuck Biden over. I don't agree with that. I think, I mean, here, this is like, I mean, these guys, you can look at their chat, you can look at their track record. Okay? You can look at their track record. These aren't like, this isn't a guy that just came out of nowhere. You know what I mean? You can look at their track record. You can look at their history. You can look at their prosecutorial history and like which way they've deliberated here. This is Ryan J. Riley, okay, NBC News justice reporter. He said, people can disagree with Robert Hur's language in the report, but it's tough to argue in good faith he's just a partisan hack. Here he is in the middle of Trump's first impeachment trial, speaking about the case against a would-be domestic terrorist who targeted Trump's enemies. U.S. Attorney Robert Hur, who was in court for sentencing today, says Christopher Hassan crossed the line into racist and violent action.
Mr. Hassan held racist and hateful views, and he spoke racist and hateful speech. But Mr. Hassan crossed the line between racist thoughts and racist speech. He crossed the line into racist and violent action. And at that point, when people are preparing to take violent steps, that is when law enforcement needs to step in before harm is done and before lives.
Jeffrey Berman also wrote in his book about how Robert Hur wouldn't adopt a bullshit investigation into John Kerry. The Hur report also completely guts the ridiculous comparisons between the Trump and Biden situation, pointing how much worse Trump's alleged conduct was than Biden's. That's not something a partisan hack does, even if you disagree with his language elsewhere in the report. That's it. This is very important for you to understand, because he also very openly said, like, listen, this is not as bad as a case as like the Trump situation, right? Because there's like very clear-cut evidence for obstruction of justice, like deliberately retaining classified information and routinely lying to the authorities and obstructing justice, trying to get other people to also obstruct justice, lying to your fucking lawyers. Like, there's a shit ton there that is like there's more to prosecute there with the Trump case. If he's a partisan hack, he doesn't have to mention any of that. That's a different case. Why would he mention this? When you are the first special counsel in history not to indict anybody, there's pressure to criticize and to make, you know, statements that maybe in otherwise you wouldn't make. Ian Sams, a spokesperson for the White House counsel's office, told reporters at the White House on Friday that while the office agrees that the report is gratuitous, he believes Hur may have also felt pressure to take shots at Biden to make up for not indicting him. Do you remember what I just said earlier? In order to make sure that there is no doubt that this guy is not like pro-Biden in any capacity, you might have said he maybe seasoned it up a little bit. Okay, but you can't say he's a partisan fucking hack. He is the classic right-wing fucking, like, inherently right-wing prosecutor, because you have to be right-wing if you're a prosecutor, let's be real. Okay? He's a classic right-wing guy who cares about the law. He's a law autist. Okay? He's just like, is quite typical. Little baby's sleeping. The James Comey comparisons are much more apt here, which is quite something considering that Hur was a senior advisor to Rod Rosenstein, who very famously wrote a certain memo about the Four Corners rule. Yeah, that's why I made this exact same comparison. Like Jim Comey, Robert Mueller, these are guys who are like right-wing, right? But they care more about like institutional norms. They're norm respecters. It also feels kind of Trumpy to cry about an alleged partisan special counsel. Why do Democrats insist on validating conservative narratives? Well, it's also funny because like they're crying about it, but they're crying about it in a way that like doesn't really make sense because he chose not to prosecute him. Guys, if we're talking this guy's a partisan hack, he's prosecuting not Donald Trump. He's prosecuting Joe Biden. He's got him. He's taking that shit to court. Why wouldn't he? Do you think that it is better to just say he's too old to prosecute and leave it? Or do you think it's better to hold him up in court when you know his ass is old as fuck and he has to sit in front of a jury? Are you joking? If you think that Joe Biden is performing poorly every time he's on TV because he can't like hold his shit together, how do you think he will perform in a court where he legally has to be there? He's just mad he had no winning case, so he smeared him. No, man, these guys aren't like that. They don't operate this way. You're crazy. Ugh. Anyway, yeah, but the optics aren't good and plays into the right-wing narrative that he's somehow weaponizing his Justice Department. Wait, what? The right is going to say that the Justice Department is biased towards Biden because that's Biden's Justice Department no matter what. Democrats are always going to also be institutional norm respecters, okay? He literally said a jury would look for reasonable doubt because he comes across as an old man with memory issues, and not just because of his testimony on October 8th, but because of his other testimony, or rather his other crime in 2017, where he voluntarily revealed top secret information to a fucking ghostwriter. People are not even talking about that on the Democratic side because they're fucking partisan hacks. These are the partisan hacks. You're overlooking the substance of the report. The reason he wouldn't take Joe to court is because Joe behaved differently. The Joe Biden is an old grandpa being with no memories. In addition, it's not the substance of the defense. It absolutely is part of the reason why he chose not to prosecute. What are you talking about? I don't think it's like extra seasoning. He already has to write a fucking report on why he's not going to prosecute. He was brought in as a special prosecutor. Why isn't this the regular DOJ counsel prosecuting their own president? Because there's a conflict of interest. So in order to destroy conflict of interest, okay, they hire a special prosecutor. They bring a special prosecutor to do this outside. That's why he had to write a report. And if his assessment is that this is not a good enough case to prosecute, he has to fucking tell you exactly why. And that makes sense. It makes sense that he explained it under no uncertain terms.
The documents that he took, they weren't taken on purpose. I think Trump's were. That will remain to be seen if the evidence shows that. But clearly there were efforts to hide them afterwards. That wasn't
TYT nepotism baby crying about liberals Jover. The legal term is president, not norm. Wait, what?
the case with Biden. That's why a jury wouldn't convict him. It has nothing to do with how old he is or whether or not he has gaffes. So I think most Democrats are angry that this special counsel did what he did, which was clearly political.
Yeah, Walter Isaacson, your reaction to what you saw last night?
Well, I do think that the senator is correct, but what happened in that report is it played into a narrative that a lot of people worry about, which is that President Biden isn't as sharp, and it's hurting his candidacy, and you see more than 60% of the people saying he's too old. So that narrative, like all narratives, is overblown. It's filled with some things that people have crammed into it. But like all narratives,
that's crazy that they're desperately trying to be like, they're wish casting Biden's very visible age. It's not one of those things that you can wish cast, man. You can't. Guys, this is perhaps one of the only things that you simply can't talk away because it is visible. Okay? That's crazy. It's so weird. They're trying to do the don't believe your lying eyes. It's like, dog, 80% of voters believe it. That doesn't happen because everyone is lying about it, okay? It happens because he's 81 years old. You cannot gaslight away this. You can't girl boss this. You can't gaslight this. And the worst is time won't fix it either. Time is the one thing that makes this worse. 81 is the new 80.
It has an odious smell of truth to it. So what I think Biden has to do is go out and confront the narrative. Yeah,
he's right about this. Walter Isaacson is not wrong about this. He has to go out and confront the narrative. The problem is, I don't know if he's got that dog in him because that dog is old. That's an old-ass dog, baby. That dog ain't barking no more. That dog has bit the last Secret Service agent that it could, okay? And now he's biting Secret Service agents in heaven because all dogs go to heaven, even cops.
If I were him, I'd call the CBS people and say, okay, I'm going to do that Super Bowl interview, and I'm going to do it live. And I'm going to go to the border, and I'm going to talk to people, and I'm going to do town hall meetings, and I'm just going to show how engaged I am. A lot of the criticisms are unfair, but if he's going to debunk this narrative, he's going to have to confront it.
Yeah, he's right. I just don't know if he has that.
Yeah, and certainly part of the White House pushback is these are people who speak in public. These things happen. In fact,
bruh, it's kind of funny to see old people commenting on other old people. That's actually interesting that you're saying that because it is a part of this narrative that I think Biden probably does really well with older voters, like better than the Democratic Party normally does because they see themselves in him. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that so yeah, Walter Isaacson being like, he's not that old. Come on. If you're saying he's old, I'm old too. Like that kind of shit plays well because what is the average age of the MSNBC Morning Joe watcher? Well, we know Joe Biden watches, but it's like fucking 63. Okay. So yeah, those guys are like, yeah, he's not old. 68 is CNN, I think, right? Isn't 68 CNN?
just the other day, new Speaker Mike Johnson, who's decades younger than President Biden, well, he made a similar blunder. Take a look.
Well, let's make a couple of things.
Dude, it doesn't matter. This is so dumb. They keep, dude, every time, they're going to do this every time. And this is a way to like try and give arguments to the 700-year-olds that watch cable news still. Okay. As though they're going to go out in the marketplace of ideas and duke it out. But like, it's so dumb. Mike Johnson and Joe Biden do not demonstrate the same mental competence in a long enough timeline. I'm losing my fucking mind. Bro, it's like having someone have an Achilles tear on the field and then being like, no, dude, you don't understand. Okay. Other players also limp sometimes. Okay. He's back. He's gonna be back. Aaron Rodgers will be back. Okay. I keep going back to the Jets for some reason. I don't know why I got the Jets on my mind. Okay. Hasanabi's a Mike Johnson defender. No, Mike Johnson is a freak. Okay. Mike Johnson is a fucking freak. Ultra Christian, ultra nationalist, psychopath. But Mike Johnson, oh, he had a fucking gaffe here. Well, your commentary is hurting Biden's chance of getting reelected. Yes, brother. As a 39-month subscriber, you know, through the 39 months of you avoiding the top of the hour ad break, you probably also noticed I got personally Bernie Sanders elected, right? Like Bernie Sanders ran the Democratic Socialist regime of the United States, United Socialist States of America. So like I do have that kind of power. I do have that genuine awesome power of like, I'm the kingmaker, as they call it. And as the kingmaker, I'm yeah, get the fuck out of here, Kokoro boy. Yeah, I'm the kingmaker and I'm the ad taker. Okay, you're gonna see the ads at the top of the hour. If you don't want to see them, well then you're gonna have to subscribe for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, where you get one free Prime subscription a month. Use it on your favorite broadcaster. Hopefully that's me. Here's the 3-minute ad break now.
It's clear here, Kristen. You know, we passed the support for Iran.
That was a perfect parry, by the way.
Many months ago, 3 months ago. Immediately after I became speaker, we sent the necessary resources there.
The speaker there confused.
Like, what's the goal here? Do you think anyone is going to be like, no, seriously, do you think anyone's going to be like, yeah, actually, Mike Johnson, who is 52 years old, okay, is demonstrating the same level of mental competence as Joe Biden? Really? Like, people are going to look at this guy who's 52 fucking years old and go, yeah, even a 52-year-old flubs sometimes, just like an 82-year-old. Is that what you think? Is that what you think people are going to say when they watch this? You have to be insane. Bro, this is literally... oh, this is a funny tweet. This feels, okay? It feels like if Joe Biden was like having a brain leak moment, okay? If his like brain started leaking out of his ear, or if he started like foaming out of the mouth, in a press briefing, they'd be like, "Oh, dude, well, who doesn't have that? Everyone foams out of the mouth sometimes. Look at me, I'm foaming out of the mouth. Oh, I'm foaming out of the mouth right now. You're gonna say, oh, I'm not mentally competent to run for president? It's like, dude, what are you doing? You sound insane. That's crazy."
Using countries' names, it happens. I mean, I can never remember Mike Barnacle's name. Claire, this is, though, as noted, and we can, certainly a lot of...
Biden was first elected the year Johnson was born. Oh, my God. Wait, hold on. Mike Johnson, January 30th, 1972. Joe Biden elected Senator, Delaware year. No shot. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. 1 year after. 1973. 1973. That's close. That's close as hell, dude. That is close as hell. Oh, I guess, like, yeah, that's true. 2 lines down, elected the Senate in 1972. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. He was sworn. He was sworn in 1973. See? I had a moment. I had a brain fart. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I'm just like Joe Brandon for real. Yeah. There you go. See? I'm 32. I gaff sometimes. I guess it's the same. I'm demonstrating the same level of mental competence as the president. Ha. Come on, man. Be for real. You're being extremely uncharitable to Joe Biden. I already ran the top of the hour ad break, so please stop trying to fucking bait me with this, okay? It's not working.
Pushback from the White House and Democrats last night, as you say, believing the special counsel went out of bounds. But this is a narrative that has been out there, and it predates this report. That their polling backs it up. There was a devastating NBC poll just a few days ago saying that the vast majority of Americans don't believe that President Biden is up.
We're serious. Brandon doesn't deserve this.
To the job anymore. They think he is too old and not mentally fit. So what would your recommendations be? How do they change this narrative? We know Trump makes blunders too, but at least to this point, and maybe it's changing, the blunders don't stick to him as much.
It's not fair to compare random other people anyway when they assess their mental acuity. Dude, it doesn't matter. Okay? It's not even like comparing Brandon to Bernie Sanders or Brandon to Trump. None of that matters. It's not even about comparing Brandon to Brandon from 6 years ago, 7 years ago, 8 years ago. It's just look at him. That's it. Because that's all it takes for voters. I personally believe this as well. I'm not just simply saying it. Like, I do think that his mental acuity is gone, okay? But voters don't even think about it from that perspective. They just look at him and they see him talk and they go, oh my God, he reminds me of my fucking grandparents.
What do you think the President Biden's team can do?
Well, confusing Nancy Pelosi with Nikki Haley is pretty darn bad. They couldn't have two people further apart in terms of who they are and what they represent. So I listen, I think this is going to be a binary choice. I think the country knows, and I hope, I'm more worried about the third party candidates, frankly, than I am anything else. But as long as it's a binary choice.
Bro, they roll out this potato every time on MSNBC, specifically to just throw it back to how this is the left's fault, okay? What do you fucking mean? Like, AOC fucking immediately endorsed, Bernie and AOC both endorsed Joe Brandon, okay? There is no, like, there is no contingency that is, like, inside of the party or, like, genuinely a big enough constituency that's, like, trying to tank Joe Biden's chances. This is why I hate this conversation. It literally turns into, well, it seems like you're not sufficiently pro-Brandon enough. Okay? It seems to me like, Sweaty, you are not sufficiently pro-Brandon. Why are we even having this conversation? Cenk is obviously going to get the nomination. Exactly. Like, it's like people that fucking take what I say seriously when I'm like, don't care, still voting for Cenk. Between
what Donald Trump represents to this country and to women and to freedom and to our democracy versus Joe Biden, I'm comfortable with that. I agree with Walter that he's got to get out there, and the staff has to be less worried about his gaffes and more worried about him showing his enthusiasm, his passion, his emotions. And I thought last night, on balance,
yeah, this was a good moment here. This was a good moment for sure. And I think he should be doing more of this. Okay.
How
totally
bad is your memory, and can you continue as president?
My memory is so bad I let you speak.
This is good. I love Midas Touch. You guys know I ride for that old school Democratic Party loyalist ass bullshit. This is my favorite type of liberal, okay? Liberal with some teeth in it. I love Midas Touch. I love the Occupy Democrats who still talk about Colin Kaepernick for some weird reason. Like, those guys are my guys, okay? Those are my roll dogs, okay? There's always a place in my heart for people like that. Liberals with teeth, okay? It's just they're funny, they're cool, they just are unhinged. I knew you were a Midas Mighty. Oh yeah, no, I've talked about them quite a bit. The people I can't stand are like the K-Hivers because they're just like mentally ill and dox people regularly. Their K-Hivers are like the Barbs, but for Kamala Harris. At least Nicki Minaj had like a decent 10-year career, okay? Kamala Harris has no good albums, okay? Anyway, can we get a run bag of the K-Hive punching rocks? Yeah. Yeah, name one Kamala Harris hit. You can't. She got none, okay? But Midas Touch, on the other hand, I love those guys because they're fun. They're insane as well, but like in a good way. What do you mean this is a banger?
I'm glad.
Kamala Harris' example of Joe Biden's mental fitness is his handling of the Gaza genocide.
Listen, I have been privileged and proud to serve as Vice President of the United States with Joe Biden as President of the United States. And what I saw of that report last night, I believe is, as a former prosecutor, the comments that were made by that prosecutor, gratuitous, inaccurate, and inappropriate. October 7th.
Bro, this is literally Lois Griffin 9/11. Yo! She just did it with the same cadence. Come on, dude. Oh my God. No way, dude. That's okay. Come on. Tell me.
What are your plans for cleaning up our environment?
9/11.
Bro, look at this. Look at the way she hit
And
this.
inappropriate. October 7th.
And she pauses afterwards too. What the fuck? Guys, remember, October 7th, which in many ways is a lot like 9/11 times 100.
Accurate and inappropriate. October 7th, Israel experienced a horrific attack, and I will tell you, we got the calls, the president and myself, in the hours after that occurred. It was an intense moment for the commander-in-chief of the United States of America, and
Yeah, you know who the real victims were on October 7th? Joe Biden, okay? Good line. I like that. We should pack that up and run with it. This will surely make people think that Joe Biden isn't fucking asleep on the wheel, okay? Yeah, no. Guys, no, it wasn't the civilians, okay? It wasn't the civilians. It wasn't anybody. It was just Joe Biden. Joe Biden is the real victim of October 7th.
I was in almost every meeting with the president in the hours and days that followed. Countless hours with the Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of State, the heads of our intelligence community, and the president was in front of and on top of it all, asking questions and requiring that America's military and intelligence community and diplomatic community would figure out and know how many people.
Okay, but like October 7th wasn't happening in like, I don't know, in all of the other instances. Like, people didn't just hear about the special report and go, oh my God, I can't believe how old Joe Biden is. Okay. Like 75% of the Democratic Party's own voters said Joe Biden is too old and needs to be replaced months ago. Months before October 7, as a matter of fact. So, like, he was already the gaffe machine turned up by 9/11, okay, for years at this point. While he was running last time. It is what we knew of Joe Biden. It is why there was talks about him being a one-term candidate. And then what did he do? Instead of propping up Kamala Harris, that's why I'm actually squashing my beef with the K-Hivers, because you might think that Kamala Harris is a black hole of charisma. You might think that she is barred out all the time in public, and that's why she slurs her words. I, on the other hand, also believe all those things, but I think it's her time. Okay? I think it is her time. And what the Brandon regime did to this loyalist, okay, makes the Trotsky ice pick situation look good in comparison. Okay? They sent her out on the worst duties possible. They sent her out personally to do clean up on aisle 5. Okay? Why did they do that? If Brandon was going to be a one-term president, why did they take my barred out queen out to the fucking Philippine Islands to look at coconuts? Why? Why did they make her go out and look at the wheels on the bus and how they go round and round? They should have propped her up. They should have. But they didn't. Because they don't want a woman to thrive.
People were dead. How many are Americans? How many hostages? Is the situation stable? He was in front of it all, coordinating and directing leaders who are in charge of America's national security, not to mention our allies around the globe. For days, and up until now, months. So the way that the president's demeanor in that report was characterized could not be more wrong on the facts and clearly politically motivated, gratuitous. And so I will say that when it comes to the role and responsibility of a prosecutor in a situation like that, we should expect that there would be a higher level of integrity than what we saw. Thank you. Thank you for the question.
Is she drunk? I think she zooted off the K-pin. I don't know what she does. I don't know. I just assume it's like a classic suburban white lady drug that I suspect she's like eating. Whatever, you know, mothers in the suburbs do to make the banality of existence seemingly a little bit more easy to deal with. Yeah. This black hole of charisma thing is your worst take yet? Stan Twitter loves Kamala. Brody, you're out of your dang mind, okay? I don't know what the fuck you're following, who you're fucking following. It's got to be a meme, right? Let's see what the Fox and Friends are doing about this beginning of the end of Biden's 2024 bid.
When Joe Biden's drinking a milkshake, is that connecting with you?
No, sir, it's not. Not even a little bit. We have Social Security problems. We have all kinds of other issues. We're not taking care of our own people. There's people on the street here that need help. Nobody's working for these people, but we're worried about what goes on somewhere else.
What's happening with the Snickers bars?
I like it.
Why?
Because when people eat together, they get to know each other.
Thanks, everybody. By the way, this stuff is good. You should have taken me up on it.
We've got homeless problems where I live in Portland, Oregon. I've got open borders, a lot of things about the economy that could be better. We didn't vote for a president because...
I love that they were like, let's find the most New York guy ever, and the dude had a Missouri accent. Like, I don't like it. I don't care. I don't give a damn about milkshakes unless I'm tending my cows, okay?
Because of his milkshake policies.
I got what we call home black and white. No ice cream, chocolate syrup.
There's two different campaign strategies here in the state, apparently. Donald Trump, big rallies, Joe Biden, drinking milkshakes at cafes. If you were voting in the States, which one would resonate more with you?
Trump. 100%. Because he's more for the people, he's more for us, rather than putting money in his own pocket.
Tanya?
That's so funny. Hello, that's right. I voted for Brexit. What? You fucking got a problem with that? I think Trump is a good one. I want to give my fanny to him. Remember when he said, grab him by the pussy? I thought, it's making my fanny flutter. I like it. After all, I want to fuck Boris Johnson.
I'm so excited to say that. Let's bring in Fox News contributor Joe Concha. Joe, what are you hearing in those answers I got?
You're hearing about a president, Todd, that isn't connecting with the American people anymore. He's not seen as a man who represents them. And it's really the Democratic Party at this point that's become the party of elites instead of the party of the working man and woman. And by the way, guys, you have Joe Biden, who is running for re-election, mind you, who has not held a sit-down interview with any television outlet. You have to go all the way back to October. And that was a cream puff interview with Scott Pelley of 60 Minutes. And then you saw what happened this week, right? We have a sitting president of the United States who says he had a conversation with the president of France, who has nearly been dead for 30 years. He then said he had a conversation with the German chancellor, also dead for several years. And then yesterday, in a patently disastrous press conference, confused the president of Mexico with the president of Egypt. The special counsel also revealed he couldn't remember when he was vice president, nor when his own son died. This is the beginning of the end of Joe Biden's re-election campaign. Democrats that I've spoken to are in a full-blown panic. The problem is the alternative is either Kamala Harris, who is somehow polling lower than Joe Biden is, and someone like Gavin Newsom, who has a horrific record to defend in California. So that's where we're at this point, guys. Yesterday was the biggest moment of this primary season so far, no doubt, because of Robert Hur's report and the damning things that he said about Joe Biden's mental state.
Yeah, well, everybody's making predictions on the show this morning, Joe. And the beginning of the end is your prediction about President Biden's future. The media.
Judging by how insane Republicans got when their big, beautiful boy lost to a carcass last time around, if the Roe v. Wade stuff actually pushes the carcass over the finish line one more time, I predict we're going to see a real serious collapse in the order as a direct consequence of the reality that the rest of the suburbanites who did not engage in like January 6th style behavior and were grossed out by the rest of the party. I think they will literally lose their minds. Because, like, part of the reason why J6 happened is because a lot of people lost their minds. It's like, how dare you fucking tell me that, like, my big, beautiful boy who I love, who is, you know, out to defend me, you're telling me that guy lost to a fucking carcass? This time, that carcass is, like, rotting, okay? That fear you just described is what every dipshit, brain-dead redneck wants you to have. I mean, it's not a fear. I think it's going to be content. I don't give a fuck. You know why I don't give a fuck about that? Because the goddamn federal government still exists, okay? You think a bunch of diabetic, heart diseased, Heil Titler ass gravy seals are going to be able to fucking take over the American government because they're mad? No. Okay? It's not happening. First of all, they got their shit pushed in on January 6th anyway and actually realize, oh, maybe there is accountability. Okay? Yeah, no, they're just going to get mad and horny and do some dumb shit. And then the FBI is going to come storming down.
Yeah, obviously reacting to this report. Here's a portion of what some of the members of the media had to say yesterday. Watch this.
If you want to get into the age thing, because this is, let's call it what it is. This is ageism snuck into a report clearing the person of any wrongdoing.
The man is 80 years old. He rides a bike. But he is the age.
Yeah, I think some people, you know, covering Biden, you realize he does have a temper. His whole staff, his...
My goat, Chris Hayes, being like, come on, guys. He's 80. To which Rachel Maddow says he rides a bike. Yeah, dude. Hey, you know who else rode a bike? Mao.
Allies.
Mexico? Where did that come from? I mean, that's the only thing anyone's going to remember from this.
Well-meaning elderly gentlemen
Is anyone going to make the point that Donald Trump and his misstatements or his actions are well-meaning?
A mixed reaction, Joe, but also a lot of it was running cover for him, calling the report ageist.
Well, it's not, because it was based on the interviews that Joe Biden did with the special counsel, and we talked about all the things that he couldn't remember in that. I'm shocked that I just saw Jeffrey Toobin back on the air at CNN. I mean, I thought he got the, shaft, a while ago.
Yeah. Continue.
And there he is. So the fact that they're defending Joe Biden's mental state when 76% of the American people by NBC News.
That's gooning Toobin, okay? He's the original gooner. He was a meta-defining guy. He was ahead of the curve. He's kind of like the Google Glass of masturbating, okay? He's the Google Glass of gooning. And how dare you disrespect him like that? You do not have what it takes. You do not have the balls to masturbate on Zoom, okay? He did. Man said, what's a goon to a goblin? He is the goon and the goblin. He's the goblin of goon.
This is poll's own standard. Don't think he has the mental fitness to be president now, let alone 5 years from now when he.
Hassan, I'm not trying to give Republicans, conservatives the benefit of the doubt, but they did warn us about Joe Biden being a vegetable for president for 2020. Just my thought. Wait, first of all, I also said that. You don't have to go to the Republicans to point to that. There were plenty of Democrats who said it. You know who else said it, actually? You guys remember a man by the name of Joaquin Castro? He was running, and he did the big no-no. He was running, and he very openly said it in the primaries, and they pack-watched him so goddamn hard. He's literally, or was it Julian Castro, not Joaquin? Joaquin is the other one. Yeah, Julian Castro is the one who did it. Sorry. See? He got erased so goddamn hard from history that I forgot it was his brother. I only remember his brother's name now, okay? Do you understand how bad that is? They pulled a fucking Genghis Khan on him. They literally rerouted the river over the map so that it would be erased from the halls of history, okay? They wiped him out. Bob Levy, thank you for the 50 gifted subs. They deleted my man. Yeah, they did a Man in Black mind wipe. So you forgot any formative memory you had about Julian Castro.
He would still be president if he won re-election, guys.
Yeah. Super Bowl weekend. I don't want to answer anything from HR, Joe, so keep it clean in our last 15 seconds. Quickly, who's your prediction? Super Bowl.
We got the San Francisco 49ers 27 and the Kansas City Chiefs 24. I'm rooting for Brock because Carly is rooting for Brock, and she's biased in that sense.
Fox and Friends right now.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart.
Brian, kill me, please. All right, we saw Kamala talking shit, talking that big shit. Let's see what Fox had to say about it, though.
Appointed by the Attorney General.
Integrity? We should than what we saw.
So he is a special prosecutor appointed by the Attorney General. The report was presented to the Attorney General, who reviewed it and then passed it on to the White House. So she just rolled all of that up in a big ball and threw the entire DOJ under the bus.
I wonder if the White House press secretary is now going to, again, talk about the independence of the DOJ and how they stay out of everything after that comment. It gets hard to do when your bosses are making comments like that. And, John, we've talked about this before. It reminded me somewhat of when the president talks about how his son is innocent over and over again. And, you have to remember, Attorney General is his direct report. And so there's no way that one can't construe these comments as directed, obviously, towards DOJ and even a warning or a message. But separately, I will say her point about gratuitous information.
What warning or a message could this be, though? They're like, hey, better not prosecute him again. Like, it's over. The message. Yeah, they're really threatening the DOJ here by saying it's one-sided. It's like, okay, well, the guy literally said there's no reason to prosecute. We can't do it. You better not do it. Better not prosecute our old senile guy.
In the report. I tend to agree with that. And this is why people don't like special counsels. We saw this with the Mueller report with Trump. Hundreds of pages of extraneous information. For what? For no charges. We're seeing this with her on Biden. And we also saw this, though it wasn't a special counsel investigation. We saw this with Comey on Clinton. And, you know, look, this is why these reports, I think, honestly, are problematic for the Department of Justice. DOJ operates in a pretty black and white world. You're guilty or you're not guilty. There's not really supposed to be anything in between. But these reports allow the Department of Justice to effectively, you know, trash people, ruin their administrations, you know, and their reputations, and then just say, oh, but no charges. And I'm not sure that's fair, no matter whether you're a Democrat or a Republican.
On the subject of fairness,
is it
this
guarantee
is what
that Joe
said
Biden wins
initially
re-election?
Yesterday afternoon, when he was asked about the report,
I'm not so sure.
He was focusing in on what he thought was the differentiation contained in this report between.
I'm not so certain. I don't know why you're saying it's a guarantee that Joe Biden is going to win re-election. I mean, I am not as big of a doomer as everyone else is. A lot of people hit the "it's super Jover" button a long ass time ago. People have been hitting the "it's Jover" button for a while now, but I'm not so certain, you know. But I am not. But I'm also not as confident as you are that you think he will definitely guaranteed win re-election. I don't think it's guaranteed at all. I think it's probably chances are that he loses. But having said that, I'm interested to hear why people think that.
What he did regarding classified documents and what Donald Trump did. Listen to what he said.
I was especially pleased to see special counsel make clear the stark distinction and difference between this case and Mr. Trump's case. Continuing to quote, most notably, after given multiple chances to return classified documents to avoid prosecution, Mr. Trump allegedly did the opposite.
Clearly, he read deeper into the report before that 8 o'clock news conference last night. But on that point, Biden, willful retention, compare that to the Trump indictment, 32 counts of willful intention or willful retention. Biden gets off, Trump gets indicted.
And there's, you know, there is a distinction with the Trump case because there are some obstruction issues at play with Trump that don't seem to be the case with Biden. However, this was always my concern, and I've been thinking about this for some time when Merrick Garland appointed 2 special counsels looking at the same issue.
With the 50 big ones, goddamn!
And I thought, okay, what happens when these reports cross his desk and there are different outcomes? You know, good luck trying to convince the American people that your special counsels are operating in an even-handed way, neutrally, and applying the law. And even with the distinction that is with, you know, is presented in the Trump case, I think he's going to have a very tough time convincing the American people that willful retention in Biden deserves no charges, whereas it does with Trump.
All right.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe.